Hello, Minesweepers. Welcome back to day 3. So we're going to start looking at IntelliJ. I know, shocking, right? So on IntelliJ, I'm going to go ahead and run the game. At this point, you should have a decent amount of the functionality of the game intact. Now, I've got a lot of colors that are being displayed, so I kind of like to see this information while I'm playing the game to keep track of what the heck all of these things mean. So when I click, if I get a gray square, that means nothing is happening in any of those. So I'm playing a very boring version right now. Green represents a 2 in my game. So what that means is that there's 2 locations around there that are bombs. Blue means just 1. So I'm going to keep clicking around, and as you start to see this game come together, it's a little bit tricky because 1s and 2s looking like greens and blues isn't ideally what we want, right? In the end, if we were doing this right, we would see the numbers. So I try to replicate it with the right color, but only if you are an expert Minesweeper player do we even know what that color is. So what I did is I made use of this screenshot that's right here. And what I did is I took screenshots of each of those little symbols and I saved them and I actually import them. Which one is it? Nope. I actually import them into my Minesweeper game. I copied them from my Finder, selected them all, copied, and I pasted them into my assets folder. So then what you can do is instead of having each of these be a set color, except I'm going to need 2 of these to stay colors for the hidden and for the empty. Instead of these being set colors, you can instead set images. So you should see in your run graphical game, you should actually see display.setImage, and you should have 2 options for on and off from turn off the lights. So what I did is I moved all of mine in and I named them nice things like 1, 2, 3, so that the number 1 goes with 1, 2 goes with 2, 3 goes with 3, so on and so forth. -3 is my flags, remember, and then -1 is my bombs. So now, when I stop and rerun this game, this time it'll look the same when I first start with that dark gray. When I click, now I see a 1 show up. That's way better information for me. Wow, I lost very quickly in this game. But we don't yet have a game over, so I can go ahead and keep playing. And we'll keep playing and keep playing and keep playing as long as we'd like. But now I could keep clicking around and this will actually kind of look like a Minesweeper board in the end. Ta-da! And I can right click and a flag shows up. So now it looks a lot more like the real game of Minesweeper. Okay, so we're going to want to do that by copy and pasting those PNG files in and then using that display.setImage instead of setColor in our run graphical game. All right, now that we have that piece, let's talk about the fact of what I just did. I clicked on a bomb and immediately the game ended. So there's 2 different situations of is game over here, right? There's an is game over because you lost, and there's also an is game over because you won the game. And so we're going to keep track of those in kind of 2 different ways. Losing the game is something that I can check with each move. If I click on a bomb, the game is over. I've lost. Winning the game is something that we're going to have to do a little bit more continuously. So inside of my game board class, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a Boolean that's called lost, that I'm going to set to be false. Actually, I'm going to create the Boolean here. I'm going to go ahead and make it a private Boolean here called lost. And then inside of my public game board, the constructor, that's right here that has the width height, that one. Ooh, terrible typing here, but you know what I mean. Inside of there, below all of the rest of the code, we're just going to go ahead and set Boolean, we're going to go ahead and set the variable called lost to be false. So that way when you start a new game, lost is false. You haven't yet lost the game. Yeah, you're just starting it. Hopefully you haven't lost as soon as you begin it. Cool. So then from there, as we're playing the game inside of let me go copy and paste my move method. inside of my move method, it's fairly simple. What I want to do then is if my row column is within the grid, I'm going to set the grid to be that row column, or sorry, I'm going to set the grid of that row column equal to the value grid at that. So I'm going to display it. And then what I'm going to say is if the value grid of that row column is equal to, we decided it was -1 is my bombs, then I'm going to make that variable called lost equal to true. Now this is just a variable that isn't doing anything for me here. Because it's also a private variable called lost, I'm going to also then do one extra step and make a little getter for it. So public boolean get lost. That's really funny. I'm going to call it get lost because that's literally what I should call it because it's a getter. That's silly. And it's going to return the value of my variable lost. Okay, so all of that's being done in my game board class. And so I'm going to enter all of this down onto a new page so we can see it all together. All of this is being done inside of my game board class. And this is to immediately toggle and trigger us that we've lost the game. So if that happens, then the action needs to actually occur inside of my run graphical game class. So we'll have a run graphical game class down here. And inside of that one, it'll be inside of our draw method. Right now there's two things in there already. It should say something like there's a background color. I don't remember exactly what it says, maybe 200. And then there should be something that is a display dot draw grid. And inside of that we say game dot get grid. Okay. So those are the two things that are already immediately in your draw. If we run into a situation of game.getLost, and that returns true, so if true, then we would want to put some some text that says you lose. Remember, you have to put this text in the right way. This is my pseudocode version, so you'll have to, fill it, make it the right size, and make sure that you also put the location of where it goes for graphics, but that part is there. The other thing that we should probably do is check if we won. So if game.is game over, this is still what it's being called, but we're going to use our game over method to mean the game is over because we've won the game. Then we can put some text that says you win. And we'll finish that there. So then we have to actually go back and make that is game over. Check. Or I guess that is game over method, but we can do that in just a second. So go back into your game board class. What you're going to do is you're going to go down to your is game over method. The thing that we're going to be adding in now is the logic there. Now, remember, you can win the game when you get to the place of you've revealed the entirety of the board minus those bombs. So when you've revealed the entirety of the board minus the bombs, you're good to go. Some versions of the game require you to actually flag all 5 bombs. Others say if you've revealed the board minus those 5 bombs, you're good. For our game right now, we're going to be really particular. We want those users to not only reveal the board, but also flag and be confident in where the bombs are. So what we're going to do is we are going to loop over the 2 grids at the same time. Because remember, when you loop over a grid, you're just using variables R and C to mean row and column. So you're going to go get the row and column within grid and within value grid. What we're looking for when I say the board has been revealed, once it's been revealed, the grid and the value grid should be the same value if it's been revealed. When it hasn't been revealed yet, grid will be -2. Okay? And then if it's a bomb location, then we want it to be a bomb for our value grid and a flag for our displayed grid. So that's what we're going to check for. So we're going to loop over the 2 grids. And if value grid of that given location is a bomb, so it's equal to -1, then what we would be looking for is whether or not there's a flag at that given location. So the easiest way to do this is to find the situation of nope, we haven't yet won, and if you get all the way through it and that you have won, then return true then. So if we found a bomb, and if the grid itself, the one that we display at that given location, is not equal to the flag, which is -3, then we can return false. They haven't yet flagged that bomb. Nope, we are not done. The game is not over. Okay, but that's only if there is a bomb at that location. If this value grid location is not a bomb, then what we need is to find that those two are equal to each other, meaning the value grid location and the grid location, which would mean that you've revealed it. So then what we would be checking for would be this else condition. So if we're inside of that else, we're not looking at a bomb, we're looking at one of the regular locations. And inside of here, what we're trying to see is if the value grid of that location is not equal to the regular grid of that location, which would mean it is unrevealed, then again, we can return false. There's still places for the player to click that they haven't actually clicked in. Okay, now let's say you loop through this whole thing, you get through all of them, you don't find any unflagged bombs, you don't find any unclicked locations. Then what that means is all of your bombs are flagged, all of your locations are clicked, so you can finish your looping and then go ahead and return true. And that is it for this bit. Happy coding!